In this video, we'll be talking about 3 major misconceptions about the relationship and marriage prediction. And if you will be doing those mistakes, then there is 0 chance you will arrive at the proper prediction. So we will start with the wrong philosophy, which is giving birth to all those 3 misconceptions. And then we'll go through the first point, how far. Second will be how long. And the third will be which one or what. So let's roll the intro and start. When it comes to the ontology of Jyotisha, or the theory of being, how it is even possible, then I go with my model of the 3 types of translations, from the symbols to the ideas or energies, and from them we are going to this conventional knowledge, or just the prediction about the unitary or individual facts or people, projects or situations. And this is very important because many people will see the main chart, the Rasi chart, and they will do just like we have the biblical literal interpretation. Similarly here, we will be treating 6, 8 and 12, for example, the Dushtana, very literal. So those people will say, oh, you have 7 Lord and 6, you will have a lot of enmity there, or there will be some disease. You have the 4th Lord in 12th house. So you will be losing properties. You will never have a property, or even if you will have, you will be always losing it. And then we have to give a point to the humanistic astrology, because those people were doing a lot of research and they found that the Rashi chart is very good for showing some kind of patterns, but it's not really, they say, possible to arrive at some form of very solid predictions about the events or something outside of us. So it's very good for subjective or something which is assisting psychology, but it may be hard to predict the events. And this is true. We Vedic astrologers are agreeing with that. If you have only the level of lordship and planets and only the Rasi chart, it's not possible to arrive at event-based astrology, because the lordship in the Rasi chart is, how I call it, it shows the direction in which the things are going. It shows how they are sliding, right? But when they will stop, when the slide will stop, will it be losing $10? Will it be losing $1,000? Or you will go completely bankrupt, right? Does it mean if you will go bankrupt, every other area of your life, your wife will leave you and you will lose also the house? Family will say, I don't know who this person is, and so on. So how far you slide, this demarcation point or the edge, right, this barrier to which this object is sliding to, is shown by the yogas. And often these yogas are present on the level of arudhas and vargas. So the arudhas are the special level of chart interpretation. They are points in the chart, just like we have the planets, the lords, and they are based on the lord of the house. For example, if your first lord is in the 5th, your arudha is in 9th. If your first lord is in the 4th, your arudha is in the 4th. So the arudhas are very good to show that edge, because they are very good at categorizing things and at those binary or more falsifiable prediction, in which you can say, yes, there is problem to marriage, but now the question, will it be affair? Is it the health of the spouse? Is it coming from the in-laws, right? This can be shown on the level of the arudha, and for marriage, this is the upapada. And on the Varga chart, these are those special charts. In Vedic astrology, we not only have this main chart, but we have 16 charts which are showing each world. We have a world of property, world of finances, we have the world of children, and each of these charts will again have 12 houses which have more detailed meanings. For example, you have in the D4 in the chart of property, the 9th house is showing the construction. If you are trying to buy a house and there is some construction going on, will there be some delays? Will there be some problems? What kind of problems will be there? And many more details about the property, which you cannot derive from the main chart or Rasi chart. It would be very hard. You have to do some karaka dance, some yogas dance, and so on. But if you have those dedicated houses in the Varga, then it's getting much easier. Going back to these 3 types of translation, these astrologers are going from the symbolic, like you have Venus in 6th or 7th Lord in 6th, they are going very quickly to the conventional knowledge, as I call it, or the manifestation, or in the unitary language, how we see that. These are the solid, concrete, physical manifestation. This is your partner, who you see, who you hear, and so on. Just small reminder, if you'd like to see how the relationship or marriage looks in your chart, then you can find the link in the description. We can schedule 60 or 90 minutes consultation for you. Just there is the form to fill and choose the date of the Calendly, the book, the consultation, and then we can enter into the mystery of your chart and see how the marriage or relationship look like. How we know that we are right here, how we know that this lordship or the karakas in the main chart, they are not so literal, that we have to treat them at more conceptual level and then try to go in that direction and see the level of how it will slide in the other parts of the chart, like the arudha and the varga. For example, you may see the charts of children who lost the father or lost the mother or had some common event for all of them. And if you will see their charts, if that would be literal way, right, then they would have all the very similar yogas. But this is not the case. In one child, the 9th lord of the father will be in the 12th house of loss. In other, it will be in the 6th house. In other, it will be 8. In other, it will have some combustion or some panchanga dosha or big affliction. In other charts, it will go to the 3rd house. So it will like run away yoga, right, from the 9th house. The dispositor also will be very important here, but the dispositor will also not be in the same place. But in all of the charts, it will be in bad house, there will be definitely some afflictions, and there will be some problems. So now we can ask why it was so constructed, why it was built in such a way that it's not in the same place. Because the main chart, we are still on that second translation. We are going from symbol to the idea or energy, depending on Western or Eastern philosophy, and then we are going to the manifestation. We can also go to the Western philosophy and then to the manifestation, but just to make it a little bit simplified, we are going to the how it manifests, right? So the 6th house or the 8th house in the main chart, it's not the literal conflict or enmity. It can be still on the abstract level or more in the symbolic level still. So this may be then the language of karma, how it manifests in karma. Like you can have a karmic debt to something, and you may have a literal debt, like you are really indebted, like the letters are coming to you and basically you have to pay at that time or you will have some consequences. This is the real debt, literal debt. But you may also have like karmic debt. Like you may feel, for example, if your karmic debt is related to 10th house, then you may work for free for a long time. I have seen that when the 8th house in the Rashi or in the Navamsha is activated, then in the past life, you took too much from the career reserve resources, and maybe in this life you have to work for free for some time, and then it will manifest in the more fair way. So this is the symbolic debt. So in the Rasi chart, it is showing the direction. Like you have, for example, 4th Lord. Recently I have a reading, 4th Lord in the 12th, and I know that person, and she didn't lose any big properties. In fact, she's now buying a house. So if you would just go by the literal thing, you would commit a big mistake. But we know that there will be some patterns, that some form of big investment or some losses, person may lose some part of something. The objects will be sliding into the 12th house, right? So when it comes to property, when it comes to everything of the 4th house, also we have to define which part of the 4th house is sliding to which part of the 12th house, right? So we have different permutations, and those challenges of those permutations and how far it will slide, we can only resolve by the yogas on the levels of arudha and varga. So we have to go to the varga chart of property, the special chart of property, and then see, oh, is this person really having so big problem in the property that she will lose everything now? And then we open the property. No, now she is in the period and she is now buying the property. And we can also, if we are using those dashas, which can assign those problems in Rashi to the varga, because the best way to do it now is through the dashas, because otherwise it's hard to equate this planet, the yogas in the Rashi to the vargas. We can do it, of course, with the normal graha dasha, like Vimshotri dasha. We can see the same planet, like person was in the Rahu dasha, so we can see Rahu in the D1 and then Rahu in the D4. We have to understand the angle of view of that, right? The perspective is that the Graha Dashas are showing more the desire, but the circumstances more about the Rashi. So there are ways, like for example, in the Narayana Dasha or in the Audaika Dasha, when we are seeing the same sign in the Rashi and we are translating that to Varga. And then we know what that problem, what the exact problem will be, how far it will slide, right? When the silver ball, to which level it will come. Will it come just person will lose some or will spend a lot, or maybe wrongly, there will be some wrongfully spending or some mistakes there related to property, or she will lose the whole house. For example, related to misfortune. There is a special house in the D4 which shows misfortunes. This could be fire misfortune, water misfortune, earth misfortune, things like that. Like person lost their houses in the California fire, right? So that is the way to see how far the ball will go down. So going back to relationship, 7th Lord in 12th, or 7th Lord in 6th. This may be a situation when you are not spending time with the partner a lot. And this, recently also on the Discord, we have a question that one person asked how to see the pattern, the same pattern, the common things which are repeating in every relationship. This is exactly the Rasi chart. This is the 7th house, 7th Lord, and maybe Darapada A7 in the Rasi chart. But each relationship still will be different. There will be these patterns in every relationship. We can call them karmic patterns. On the West, we can call them psychological patterns, or this way of seeing things is more popular. But it will be there. But if you want to now define each manifestation, how each relationship will be, we are now entering the event-based astrology. And for that, it's not possible to do it on the Rasi chart only with the lords and planets. We have to agree with the humanistic astrology. You have to go to the arudhas and you have to go to vargas if you have them in your system. So now if we have some triggers or impulse which says, oh, there can be some danger in specific direction, right? We may call it like Agni challenge, fire challenge, right? In the marriage, it could be violence, there could be some conflicts, it could be some abuse, toxic relationships, gaslighting, all those things. So this is giving us inspiration to check now yogas for each manifestation, right? Will it be infidelity and will it be violence in the marriage? There are specific planetary positions which are showing each manifestation, which are usually not taught openly. They are taught in the special courses, because this is giving the real leverage, right, between the how to predict things more clearly. Now we can go to the second point, which is telling us about how long. This is an important thing which can also change everything, because this is the thing about the proportions of good and bad. The challenging yogas in your chart, you have positive yogas, when they will get activated. We also need to do here some form of distinction to dasha type of timing and yoga-based of timing. There's also a special thing taught in the Gemini course, how long the marriage will be based on the yogas itself. And then if you see the distance or period, then you will have like 2 or 3 dashas in that approx period. And then based on the dasha, you can choose which one will give the end of the relationship, or at least the testing time, right? After what time it can break, right? This also is the way to see if it will break or not break, right? You may have a sixth house very problematic, but it can only be for 1 year, or it was already in the past, right? It was in 2002. So the big yoga in your chart, which is taking your whole attention, and the other astrologers would write a 10-page automatic print related to this. And then you find out that, oh my God, it was already gone. It's 2002. Person is already somewhere else, right? We need to, the dasha, the direction of what's going on, what is now, which karma is now burning. You should talk about the different planet. We should turn our gaze to a different part of the chart, right? You are looking at the wrong yoga now. So this is about the dasha. The dasha also will determine how your life will be, because even if you will have good or bad planets in your chart, what is the proportion of the years of the good and bad time? This is very important. And the third point, which is the vital one, is about the what, right? So in this context is which relationship are we talking about? Like you are talking about the Jerry, right? But the person wants to forget about Jerry. Don't talk to me about Jerry. This is my ex. I don't want to hear about it. We are now going to the new one, right? To the David. David is the current relationship, the second one. So we should be looking at that. But you are all the time talking the story of the Jerry, which was the first one, because you don't know how to analyze the second one. And therefore, we were talking about those philosophical bases at the beginning, because the direction will be the same, the pattern will be the same based on the Rasi chart, but for each relationship, the ball will fall to a different direction and also to a different canal, to a different karmic route, right? For Jerry, it was horrible relationship. We have to give it to the humanistic school of astrology that they are right. One relationship is totally different than the other. How you can say then about the events if you have only one placement of 7 Lord and Venus in the chart, right? It's not logical. It is very right observation. Therefore, they concluded the Rasi chart shows about your patterns. We can call it psychological or karmic patterns, however you want. And if you don't have 2 points which are showing 2 different relationships, then it's not possible to talk about them, because we don't have a tool which are resonating with the reality, right? But in Vedic astrology, we have each separate point for each relationship. We have a Upapada, which is first relationship and 7th house in Navamsha. Then we have a second marriage. This is the 8 from Upapada and 8 from 7th in Navamsha. Then third relationship is 8 from the 8 from Upapada and 8 from the 8 from the 7th in the Navamsha. This will be totally different planets, different strand. In one case, it can be horrible. You may have Saturn, Rahu, Mars debilitated in the 7th house, and in the second, you may have Jupiter, Mercury. The second marriage can be totally different. Of course, there will be trauma from the first marriage, right? It could even be trauma from past marriages in the past life. This is how the 7th house operates in the Rasi chart. Therefore, the 7th house in the Rashi will be still very important to how you react, about your preferences, how you will go, because that trauma will stay with you through all relationship, right? Or your way, attitude, your preferences, things like that, which is coming from the sum of the samskaras, how you were choosing things in the past lives. But the relationship, what is coming to you from the external world will be completely different, right? And more often than not, the clients are asking about those manifestations because they somehow are in tune with the patterns and things like that, but they want to know what the fate will give them, right? This is the astrologer should give, right? What I will get through the fate, who will come, what type of the dasha will be for me, right? Not only from the subjective experience, but also with what objects I will deal. And again, here we are going through this event astrology. We need to apply the different levels like arudhas and vargas. And we have to see the yogas on this level to see how far this ball will go. Therefore, when it comes to marriage, you will notice as such situations, if you are going through many charts, 7th Lord was in the 6th or 7th Lord was in the 12th, and when you have that exposure to that experience, that it gave two totally different things, then it is really taking you back, right? It should take you back. Maybe you are not doing so many examples and therefore you are so self-confident about your literal style of astrology. But if you went through many examples and you see those differences, then the natural conclusion should be, oh, this is showing the pattern, but for manifestation, how the marriage will be like, it must be the other points in the chart, right? Therefore, people who are frustrated with this pop astrology, which is popular on this social media, they are starting to learn more traditional astrology, like Jaimini astrology, Parashara astrology, and when there are more levels to check, and when we are dealing with those points on those levels, which are expanding the knowledge which is there in the Rashi with the seventh lord and the Venus.